Assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to Youth Perspectives. Today I have my brothers with me here today, and I also have a special guest with us, my cousin Hussein Jaffrey. He's sitting on the end over here, yes. So today's topic is we're going to be talking about digital media and its effect on our lives overall and on our brain specifically. So first, before we begin our discussion about digital media, I want to kind of recap on what just happened this Friday, and we kind of talked about this in our last program, and it was the Al-Baqi protest. So I know Ahmad and Waji were able to attend that protest. Again, I couldn't attend it because I had this educational program for me to attend that I was required to go to, but my brothers are here today and they're going to be recapping on what happened at the protest. So Ahmad, do you have any comment you would like to make on the protest?
Yeah, there were a lot of people that day, and I think we made an impact on what people think about Al-Baqi. A lot of people who are on the road, normal citizens who don't really know about it, are probably well informed now as to what's going on.
Okay, that's really nice. Do you want to add anything about that? Anything you found like special or something that stood out to you at the protest, or anything you want to mention about it?
I liked how they did it in front of the Saudi consulate. I felt like we really got the message across.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, because the point of these protests isn't just for us to go out and express that what we want to say. We kind of want to target the right people, and the Saudi consulate, these are the people that we really the purpose of the protest was to talk to these people and to get our word out to these people. So it was really significant that we had this protest and we were able to express our words and our emotions in front of the people that we're trying to target. So yeah, that was kind of like a recap on what happened at the Al-Baqi protest. And if you weren't able to attend this year, it's always, it happens every year. So yeah, you guys should totally attend that. Now moving on, we're just going to kind of start out really casually. I'm going to ask these people how their vacations were, just to kind of ease the tension and just kind of start. So Hussein, do you want to tell us how your summer vacation's going?
It was very, very, very good.
Very good? Yeah, I see that you're coming from New York, right? So you're visiting Houston, visiting your cousins. Is that going nice for you? That's good. Okay, Ahmad, how's your summer vacation going?
Yeah, I'm having fun. We're being visited by our relatives, such as my grandparents, my uncle, my cousin, and so I'm having a lot of fun. I'm taking classes as well to keep up with my education. So yeah.
That's really good, taking classes. Yeah, I'm also in a summer program, so it's always good to, always keep learning, even if you're on summer vacation, this kind of ties back to our topic of digital media, that that's kind of what we're going to get at, that, we want to spend our time wisely using digital media, because that's another major theme of what we're going to be talking about today. And, using your summer to go to classes or doing anything that's educational, that's always good for us, and that's also sawab for us. And Allah will be really, Allah's always watching us, so we want to spend our time, for given free time from school, we want to spend it doing things that are useful for us and that will benefit us spiritually and academically. So coming to Waji, how was your summer vacation going?
I feel a lot more relaxed. I felt like there was a lot more work this year than compared to last year at school, and I believe that I know it's important to work hard every day, but it's always good to take breaks off.
Okay, yeah, that's a great point, Waji. That summer is kind of like a time for us to relax, and that's great that you're having a really good summer. So now moving on along, the first question that I'm going to ask is, to these people that I have here is, like I mentioned before, the main topic for today is digital media, and really we're going to be talking about how we need to manage our time on it, and how we can use it, and how to be good digital citizens essentially, its impact on us, and especially on our brain, because we need to, if we have an opportunity or something available to us, we need to know how to use it effectively, and so we don't use it too much. So now moving on, Hussein, let's get back to you. What digital media do you use? What technology do you use? Do you use an iPad, phone? What do you use?
I use a phone and TV.
You watch TV? So how much time do you think you spend on these technologies every day?
1 hour.
1 hour, really? Wow, that's actually not that much, 1 hour, that's not that much. Okay. Ahmed, what digital media do you use?
I use a phone and I use a computer as well, and yeah, some other things. That, yeah.
Same with
Okay.
me.
Okay, that's great. So, how much time do you think you spend every day on these digital media?
I think it depends how much work I have. I try to balance it. If I have more work, then I play less. But if I have less work, then vice versa.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, Waji, what digital media do you use?
I use my laptop and my phone, and
And how much time would you approximate that you spend on these things, like on a daily basis?
like normally during like the school year, I usually use like I'm allowed to use it for about an hour, just like Osen said. But sometimes if I have too much work, I do like nothing till like 30 minutes. But during the summer, as I said before, I have a lot less work now, and I play a lot more. So I guess like more or less like 2 or 1 hour. maybe.
1 or 2 hours. Okay, that's good. That's good. So now moving on in our talk about digital media, we kind of had a good introduction here. So let's continue. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today was digital citizenship. So similarly, you know how we're citizens in America or wherever you are, we all know the basic idea of what citizenship is, right? As a citizen of whatever country or wherever you are, you have certain roles and responsibilities that you need to fulfill, and you have limits on what you can and what you cannot do, and you have like I mentioned before, you have responsibilities as to what you're supposed to be doing and what things you can do to make the environment better. So that's kind of how we're going to open our discussion today, is basically on the idea of digital citizenship. So I want to come here to Ahmed. So Ahmed, do you want to comment anything about digital citizenship that you would like to share?
Yeah, so a lot, like on just the way like in America or in any country they have laws, so like you the same way, and you have your own personality that you want to keep up with yourself, so you have to act in certain ways to keep your charisma, like the characteristics that make you. So like you should have a concept of a time, essentially, so that you don't spend too much time on social media, so that it doesn't become too much a part of your life. Like essentially part of your life is social media, and that shouldn't be what it is. And also, like, you shouldn't let social media affect your your life in real life. You should act to others online as you would like in person, and the way others think of you is affected by social media as well. So like you shouldn't let it affect it too much. You should try to keep a balance between the two. And also you should respect others just the way you would in real life. So like you should respect their privacy, respect what you think of them. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are actually really great points that Emma made here, that he kind of outlined, our limits and kind of our role and our responsibilities as digital citizens. And he kind of covered like the definition of digital citizenship. One major concept that he covered was time. Like I asked these guys before we started, that was kind of like the purpose of why I asked them, we should really be monitoring how much time we're spending on our digital media devices. Like, we can't, sometimes we don't realize it, but we spend a lot of time on there. Sometimes, do you guys ever feel it, like when you're on your phone and you're watching something, say you're like on Netflix or something, you're watching something, you just go to the next episode, and you really don't feel the time passing by, because it goes by so fast, and it's like, and when you're done, you're like, oh my god, I've been on my phone for like 3 hours, and you don't even realize it, because you're just so into your phone or into whatever device you're using. So like Ahmed outlined, time is really critical for us to look at when we're using these digital media devices. I would suggest, like, just a really good suggestion that you should spend like a certain amount of time every day. I know in iPhones that you can go in the settings and it kind of tells you how much you've used your phone ever since you put it on charge. So like if you can monitor it on there, so then it'll tell you like, oh, I've used it for 1 hour, I've used it for 2 hours, and that kind of keeps you aware of how much you've used your phone. Or every day, you can have a set amount of time, from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock or whatever, I'll use my phone, but otherwise I'll do other activities, like play outside. and things like that. So again, I'm re-emphasizing the point that Ahmed was saying, that we really have to be strict on how much time we're spending on our social media. I mean, social media, digital media. Social media comes under digital media. Another point Ahmed said that's very important is like how you act online is you should act online the way you act in person. Yeah. So, if you wouldn't if you wouldn't say something mean to someone in real life, you shouldn't do that online, So if you shouldn't be mean to others online if you wouldn't do it in real life. And, obviously we need to be nice. It's our job to be nice to people and give others respect in real life, right? So we want to do the same thing online because, it's kind of like the same thing. You're communicating with other people. And also, Ahmed mentioned that, we have to keep a balance in our life between our digital media use and, our other things like, our education, spending our time with our family, playing outside, spending time with our friends. You have to kind of create a balance between digital media and your other, part of your life. So that's really important. That just kind of ties back to the idea of, managing our time really wisely. And so, yeah, that's how I'd like to elaborate on that. So now, Waji, I'm going to come to you. Do you have any comment you would like to make that, what we should do as digital citizens?
I think what a large part of being a digital citizen is being responsible. And being responsible means don't, communicate to, strangers, And, right now there's, a lot of games, that you play online. And, you may not realize it, but you're playing with complete, total strangers. And another thing is, and that relates to that point, is don't share anything too personal online. Don't share your address or anything like that. Don't share your phone number, your parents' phone number, or anyone's phone number. And don't send any photos of anything. Don't take pictures of your house and stuff.
Okay, nice point you mentioned there. That's a really important part of digital media. There's online, you have a whole you encounter people that you don't even know, they're complete strangers to you, and you don't know who these people are. So as digital citizens, it's also our responsibility and our role to kind of take prevention and know that there's people that we don't even know, they could be murderers or something on there, those people that want to torture you or anything. You don't know how people are in the world nowadays. We can't possibly predict people's mindsets. So we really need to be aware about what we put online. And I know they teach this continuously in schools, because as a child, when I was in elementary, middle, high, throughout all my years of high school, they continuously emphasize, watch what you put online, because you never know what it could do in the end. Like what you said, don't put a picture of your house online, then people could find where you live, and bad things could happen from that. So that was just kind of an example. So Hossein, let's get to you. Do you have anything to share about how we can be a good digital citizen?
You could listen to your parents when they tell you to stop watching TV or playing a video game.
Yes, that's a very good point. Obey. This comes again into another major theme of Islam, that Allah tells us, it's one of Allah's main rules, that we have to obey our parents. It's a really great guna if we don't obey them. So remember, whenever you're on digital media, you have to make sure you're obeying what your parents are saying, and you're not disobeying them. You're not being mean to other people, you're not bullying other people, and and you're not watching things that you shouldn't be watching. So Hossein brought up a really good point, that we have to make sure we keep our Islamic ideals in digital media. So continuing on. So now I want to kind of see that, I want to kind of talk about how in the past, we would play outside more, and we would spend more time, with our family. I know when I was a child, when I was in elementary school, that, my neighbors would always come by, and they would, ask me to play outside. And, I would spend a lot of my day outside. And besides that, I'd go to school and I'd go and play outside. But nowadays, what you see is you don't see kids outside that much anymore, unless it's recess in elementary schools. Then kids are forced to go play on the playground. But now if you look outside your house, then I don't see as many kids playing. Like when I was a child, and this was like a good amount of years ago, you know, that there would be kids like, you know, on electric scooters, there would be biking, and, you know, kids would be everywhere, and it'd just be really fun. Like every day would be part of my routine to go outside and play with my neighbors, and it would just be really nice. And, you know, you wouldn't see kids on their phones, but now if you see a child, then, you know, you don't see any children outside, and if they are outside, you see them, you know, on their tablet or their phone. And, you know, I just want to kind of emphasize that, you know, slowly as time is progressing, you know, we're spending less and less time on things that are of more value. Like, for example, you guys know, like, say, for example, if your relatives come over or anything, you know, if you guys are having, you know, especially I want to bring up the point of family dinners. Like when you go, I've seen this somewhere where, you know, if you go out to a family dinner, then, you know, people, instead of the family talking to each other, they tend to be on their phones. And, you know, it's not even on purpose because we're so used to being on our phones. It's not like we want to ignore our family or anything, right? It's just like we're so addicted to our phone or any digital media device. So I really feel like I want to emphasize the point that, you know, in life, you know, our experiences, our face-to-face experiences, they're so much more important than what's on digital media, you know. So we should really be taking advantage of that. And, you know, when you go to a family dinner, just keep in mind, you know, that what's the purpose of you going out to a family dinner? You could have ate at home, right? A purpose is, of course, to enjoy the good food that's offered to you, but also to spend time and talk to your family, because you know how busy our schedules are and everything. So I really wanted to emphasize that point that, you know, we should be looking at this and we should try to lessen the time. I'm not saying to completely not use your phone. Of course you need to use your phone, right? But, you know, we want to keep it at a limit, and, you know, we really want to spend time with our family, you know, have a good interaction with them. So, okay, so now moving on along, let's go ahead and talk about how digital media affects our brain. So I actually wanted to share a study that I'm going to go ahead and refer to here. So according to a study that they did, was they found in that study, they found that kids age 1 to 3, that every hour that they spent on digital media, their risk of ADHD increased by 10%. So guys, this is something like, ADHD is a serious condition, you know. So like just imagine like every hour, like a baby, you know, if you see that every hour that they use their digital media, their risk of ADHD increases by 10%. So that's like a really big deal. Like it's causing a detrimental effect on the child. So we really need to like acknowledge this from this study, that's really important. Another part of the study said that, you know, kids age 4 to 8, that every 2 hours that they spend on TV increases their risk of attention deficit disorder. So, you know, they begin to lose their span of attention, which is really critical when it comes to your education. You know, when you go to school, you need it would be bad if you had an attention disorder. So, you know, this is like the age that kids go to school, ages 4 to 8. And also the last part of the study stated that kids aged 9 to 12 have similar problems, and the more time that they spend on their digital media, if they spend hours and hours, it affects how well they do academically in their schools. So this is something, you know, from this study that I shared from you, we have to really see that, you know, using an excessive amount of digital media has a critical effect on our lives. Okay, so we really need to make sure, you know, that us and the people around us are using a limited amount of digital media, not overusing it, because, you know, it can have detrimental effects on our brain. So now I want to come to Ahmed here. Ahmed, do you want to share anything about how digital media affects the brain, specifically, like, you know, regarding attention? I know we were discussing this before the program, so I know you have something to share.
Yeah. The attention span of people, like after they use digital media, like a person's attention span can shorten a lot. Like there's a study that said that after like I think 10 years that the average attention span of a person went from 12 to 5 minutes. So like your attention span is like shortened greatly if you just because of using digital media, social media. And also that's because like digital media expects us for things to be really quick, because everything is sent almost immediately. So like the same way we expect things in real life to be immediate as well. So we don't have a lot of patience for things that take a long time. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Would you want to comment? Do you want to add anything else on to that regarding attention span?
Oh yeah. So I read online about a study that included, they interviewed 2,500 teachers. 2,500 teachers. And what happened was they interviewed them and prompted them a survey. And 87% of them agreed that social media and all this digital media, it makes a student or a kid more vulnerable to distractions in class and shortens their attention span and cognitive abilities.
Okay, well that's a great study that Ahmed and Waji, they gave great pieces of evidence, that digital media has a great effect on our brain, and it's specifically our attention span. So now I want to come to Hussein. He wanted to share Dua Imam Zamana with us. So Hussein, do you want to recite it?
Yes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتفجره فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Hussein, great recitation. That was beautiful recitation and a great surah for you to share with us today. So, not a surah, I'm sorry. It's a dua. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Hussein. Now I want to come back. That was kind of like a nice intermission for the program. To our discussion. So I want to come back to the idea of the effect that digital media has on our brains. And so one thing that we covered is that it affects our attention span. Another thing that it creates is addiction, yes, Waji. So using excessive digital media, okay, I just want to kind of start off and say like the 4 effects that it has. First of all, we covered was attention. And then we have addiction. Then it creates an impact on our reading skills, and it also affects the brain downtime. I'm gonna come to these guys and they're gonna kind of tell us more about this. But anyway, so digital media has a great effect, on it. The more that you use, like for example, I'm gonna give like the more that you use your phone. So if you use it like continuously and excessively for hours and hours, that also creates an addiction for you. The more that you use your phone, it makes you more addicted to it. So that's why you see people so much on their phones, because they become addicted. That the more they use it, it becomes addiction. And addiction is a great problem for us, because if we become addicted to something, it drives our attention away from other things we should be focusing on. Like for example, I know it's not school anymore, but during school, that if you had a test coming up, or if you're in class and say you're really addicted to your phone and you start using it in class, that affects your educational or academic performance, because you're not doing as well because your attention is on your phone, and you're addicted to it and you're continuously using it. So that would have a negative impact on your education. So now, Emma, do you want to add any comment about how digital media affects?
Yeah. So like as you're saying, like digital media causes an addiction. You would think that like the type of addiction digital media has is just you're connected to it. It's not really an addiction, but like it actually works in the same way as some drugs. Like basically what a drug does is, how it addicts you is that it releases a chemical called dopamine. Yeah, dopamine in your head, and it causes you to be happy. And that you connect that happiness to that drug, so then you become addicted to it. So when you're away from that drug, then you're unhappy. So the same way with digital media, when we use the phones and the whatever device that you're using, we become happy, and that's because the dopamine is being released in our brain. And so when we're away from our technology, or if we don't have our technology, then we become sad, and that shows us that we have an addiction to it.
Yes. So Ahmed, I just want to kind of connect something that Ahmed kind of gave, like a scientific reasoning to what he said. Yeah, a scientific explanation to what he said. So I'll also mention that if we like in our brain, if we're using our digital media too much, it's obviously has like a negative effect on our brain. And also I want to mention how it affects our sleep and our health, and that's kind of like how it affects our health. Say for example, if you stay up really late on your phone, then in your brain, then if you're staying up really late, then and you're on your phone, and say you want to sleep, but your brain needs time to kind of process, and it'll take time for you to go to sleep, because as soon as you stop using your phone, you can't just directly go to sleep. It's not like as soon as we put our phone down, we just go to sleep. It takes time for us to close our eyes, and it takes time for us overall, for our brain to allow us to go to sleep. So like similarly, what I'm trying to say here is that if the more that we use our digital media, it lessens the amount of sleep we have, because the more that we use it, then you have to add another 1 to 2 hours after that, and then you actually get your sleep. So that's lessening the amount of sleep we get. So that's another like health disadvantage that can result from the excessive use of digital media devices. Do you have anything you want to comment on that? Any personal experience or anything?
Yeah, I heard that I saw a study online that never mind. So I saw a study that it usually what happens is if you look at a screen, like a phone screen, it releases blue light, which can damage your eyes, and it can also you can also struggle sleeping at night, because you usually stay up for an extra 30 minutes for every, I believe, minute or so you see your device's screen.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Waji. So we have more scientific explanations to what for digital media. So moving on, I also wanted to mention that like the 4 effects that I told you earlier, that it can excessive digital media use can have an effect on our number 1, our attention, and Waji shared some things regarding that. Number 2, it can cause addiction, which is it has obviously negative effect for us, because it lessens our attention on other things that are more important. Then also I want to mention that yes, Waji. I want to mention that it has an effect on our reading skills. So, reading, I want to mention, is like a critical, a really critical thing when it comes to your school and your education, and essentially, your intelligence. And if the more that you use your phone, that has a negative effect on your reading skills. And reading skills, I want to say that are very, very critical, and I've learned that, that it's very critical in my years of schooling, that I've learned that. Also, I want to come to the idea that excessive digital media use also has an effect on brain downtime. So Emma, do you want to share anything on that?
Yeah. So basically, like after we're finished studying or whatever we learned throughout that day, or whatever we learned throughout the day, our brain needs downtime to process whatever we learned that day, because that information was just going in our head. We need to know what it means. So our brain needs some a recharge time to sort of understand what that information is. And basically, when you use your digital media, you're basically you spend half your time studying all that stuff, so all the information is in your head. But now you're using the other half of your time to use digital media, and like you're not giving your brain any time to process what you learned. And a lot of times, like, we're becoming less intelligent. We're not able to we're not holding on to the things we learned. Like it's just temporary knowledge that we have, and that's all because of digital media.
Yeah, Emma, so our brain, it needs time to process what you've learned. Like after you read something or after you study something, like Emma said, your brain needs time to process that, so you can actually learn it and be prepared for any test or anything that you have. But if you're gonna study for like whatever, an hour, 30 minutes, and right after that you're like, oh, study break, and you use your phone, then you're not allowing your brain to interpret and process the information that you just read, so your studying becomes useless. So you kind of want to, if you do use digital media, you want to give like a break between your studying and to kind of 30 minutes or an hour to kind of process that, and then you can come back to your phone. So now we're kind of reaching the end of our program, and Woji wants to add a comment.
Yeah, I saw another study online that they showed that there was a school that provided laptops to their students, and their students' academic performance went down a lot by a lot. And it really surprised me to see all these things, because I usually don't know. You usually, if you were one of these students, you wouldn't notice that this was happening to your grades and stuff.
Okay, Woji, that's a really good thing that he mentioned. That when they bring laptops to the schools, it actually had a negative impact on the school. So that's very critical to our educational performance again. And this was only simply by bringing laptops. So imagine what impact that would have by continuously using your phone. So now I'm gonna come to Ahmed. He wanted to add something else.
Yeah, also about you're talking about digital media also affects our our comprehension when we're reading. And so basically our school success is usually based on the core factors of our learning, which is math, reading, and
Fine.
and our attention span. So nowadays, due to digital media, everyone likes everything very short and concise, because as I was saying earlier, their attention span is very short, so then they become very impatient. So when they're in school, books are usually very long texts, and people want their information to just be bulleted points. So a lot of people are letting go of reading, and even I've let go of reading over the years. It may be due to digital media, but I can also give that to just schoolwork in general. So,
yeah, so that's a great point that you made on our reading skills. Again, emphasizing the point that using excessive digital media has a great effect on our reading skills. And that's why I want to kind of just to conclude today's session that we should really, as you guys all agree, that we shouldn't completely stop using digital media, because in this generation, how are we going to live without digital media? Everyone's using it, and it has many benefits, educational benefits. There are a lot of benefits to it, but we really need to keep track of the amount of time we're spending towards digital media, because again, this was one of the first things I mentioned. We really need to be watching the amount of time that we're spending on digital media. So I just wanted to say that you use it, but you want to limit your time. And again, I want to emphasize the point that you have to be a good digital citizen. You have specific, like a citizen of whatever country you're living in. You also have roles and responsibilities when you're using digital media, limitations. So that's how I'd like to conclude. So thank you. Oh, and thank you guys for everything, for being with us today.
You're welcome.